in the Asia region. There is very high acid, which we call total acid number, TAN. There is also chlorides. So there are a lot of impurities that when you try now to select, you have to try to run it and find out whether you can use the crude at a particular processability rate. Now, given the situation where Middle East does not have the capability now, we have been looking for crudes. We have been looking as well for products because at the onset, when this happened, 4 million barrels were absent for delivery. So that is practically a month's requirement. So we had to source from elsewhere. And probably everybody knows already well where we got our crude. And this was cleared by agencies of our government.
Close where that came from? I think that this, kung clear naman ng government yan. And
It was Russian crude.
yeah, and it's all over the news that the U.S. lifted the sanctions so that
Well,
countries
the,
can go.
the
can go-
U.S. lifted the sanction, but that is only up to April 11.
Correct. I know.
So, that was a deal where we sought the government's help.
No, the point
And-
I'm trying
and
to
to me-
Mr. Pomposeno, the point
Yes.
I'm trying to make, no, is with your vast network, how come that the oil companies cannot get supply from non-traditional sources? But I understand it that you got supply from a non-traditional source, meaning outside of the Middle East. But I'm trying to understand, bakit hindi tayo makakuha sa Latin America, sa United States, sa Canada? No?
It depends on the crude.
Or
When I
even
also talk about Middle East crudes, we know that it is more like sour and heavy. Okay. The configuration of the refinery was built so that it could handle the fluid flow. Let me explain a little bit on the technical side. If you are pumping water, you have a very small pump. If you are pumping a slurry or you're pumping heavy viscous material, you have to build a bigger pump. And so in the whole structure of what is the configuration of a refinery, it is supposed to handle that. So blends also, if you talk about light crudes, the output will be gasoline. If you talk about mid-heavy or lighter crudes, light crudes, medium heavy, they will produce diesel. And when we configured the refinery after the upgrade that we did, we looked at the market, and the market was diesel. And so that is how it is configured, and that is why Middle East is a staple. And in most countries, they look at the same. What is the product that they would like? Now, there is a scenario where perhaps I do not want to debunk the claims, no? But you have a situation in the Middle East where one of the refineries, the bigger refineries, which was 900,000 barrels a day, was damaged. That crude supplies Europe. That refinery supplies Europe. You have the Qatar South Pars, North Pars, that was also damaged, LNG. So there is already a deficit as far as Europe is concerned. So there is going to be an arbitrage coming from wherever source of diesel that will have to go to Europe. And so here you are seeing a situation where the premiums that are being asked are exorbitant. uncharted, never been experienced. We have never seen a crude priced at $160 per barrel. You put the premium of $40 on diesel now, that gives you about $200 already. The freight cost has definitely gone up, so everything has gone up. Insurance, if you cannot insure the vessel consider also the other inputs
per barrel.
Director Lamuel Lopez. From the Department of Energy, we have Undersecretary Felix William Fuentebella and Director Rino Abad. From the Department of Migrant Workers, we are waiting for USEC Dominic Rubia Tutay and USEC Bernard Olalia. From the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, we have Deputy Admin Jasmine Ann Gapatan. From the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, or DepDev, we have Assistant Secretary Reynaldo Cancio. From the Department of Agriculture, we are waiting for USEC Roger Navarro. From the Department of Transportation, or DOTR, we have Undersecretary Mark Steven Pastor. From the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, we have Assistant Secretary Regino Malyari and Assistant Secretary Grace Baluyan. From the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, we have Undersecretary Adonis Sulit. From the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, we have Director Gemma Ilagan, Director Olivia Regner, and Attorney Philip Jeffrey David. From the Department of Finance, or DOF, we have Undersecretary Carlo Fermin Adriano, Director Jolly La Rosa, and Attorney Maria Carla Espinosa. From the Energy Regulatory Commission, or ERC, we have Attorney Krisha Marie Buela. From the National Power Corporation, or NPC, we have Ms. Maria Annabel Versosa. From the Philippine National Oil Company, or PNOC, we have Attorney Antonio Buenviaje. From the Department of National Defense, or DND, we have Assistant Secretary Jeffrey Hechanova. From the National Security Council, or NSC, we have Deputy Director General Nestor Jerico. And from the Philippine Competition Commission, or PCC, we have Attorney Camille Ann Mendizabal. From the stakeholders, we have from the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI, we have the President, Mr. Ferdinand Ferrer. From the Philippine Institute of Petroleum, or PIP, we have Executive Director Rafael Capinpin. From Petron Corporation, we have the General Manager, Mr. Lubin Nepomuceno. From Chevron Philippines Incorporated, or Caltex, we have the President and Country Chairman, Mr. Pong Torntang Manuswong. From the Shell Filipinas Corporation, we have the President and CEO, Ms. Lorelie Kiambao Ochial. Ms. Kiambao Ochial will also be representing the Makati Business Club. From the Independent Philippine Petroleum Companies Association, or IPPCA, we have the President, Ms. Tanya Samiliano. From Jetty Petroleum Incorporated, we have Mr. Helvi Collado and Mr. Johan Mark Asioche. From the Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries, or PICAF, we have Ms. Sara Bales, Chief of the Policy Development and Coordination Division. From the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, we have the Vice President, Mr. Luis Corral. From the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, or PIDS, we have the President, Dr. Philip Arnold Tuanyo. That's it for now, Mr. Chair, but we are still waiting for other resource persons who have confirmed, like ED Africa of Ibon Foundation, Ms. Estelle Ople Osorio of Blas Ople Policy Center and Training Institute, and Mr. Danilo Fausto of the Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food Incorporated. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Committee Secretary. I just want to give a brief opening statement. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the second hearing of the Protect Committee on the effects of the Middle East conflict on our country. In the first hearing, we asked whether the nation was prepared for a crisis of this scale. What is clear is this: many efforts are underway, but these are not yet consolidated under a unified, coordinated national contingency plan. We recognize the efforts that have been done. The President recently signed Executive Order 110, declaring a state of national energy emergency and authorizing the unified package for livelihoods, industry, food, and transport. This has led to the creation of the Uplift Committee, which will oversee and coordinate government's response to the crisis. He also signed into law Republic Act number 12316, which authorizes the President to suspend or reduce the excise tax on petroleum products. The private sector has made steps of its own, with some food firms agreeing to keep prices stable for up to 2 months. Malinaw na maraming ginagawa, pero hindi pa buo ang sistema. Sa ating pagtitipon ngayong araw, bukod sa mga kasama natin sa gobyerno, nandito rin ang mga kinatawan ng mga oil companies, business community, transportation sector, OFWs, at ang sektor ng agrikultura. This gathering of multiple stakeholders represent an end-to-end picture of how the full impact of this crisis is felt. Our mission has not changed. We must ensure that the efforts of all sectors are aligned and that we have a clear picture of what these efforts will look like on the ground, in our communities, at the gas stations, in the supermarkets. The declaration of a national energy emergency makes this goal more urgent than ever, and the consequences will set our nation back for years to come. Sa pinakamalubhang senaryo, maaring bumagsak sa 4 hanggang 3.5% ang GDP ng bansa. Ang inflation ay pwedeng tumaas sa hanggang 8.6% kapag umabot ang presyo ng langis sa $200 per barrel. Kapag nangyari ito, hindi lang babagal ang pag-unlad ng bansa, maraming mawawalan ng hanap buhay at libo-libong Pilipino ang malulugmok sa kahirapan. Sa madaling salita, kailangan natin unahan ang crisis na ito. This is not enough that we know what the worst-case scenario looks like. We must be ready with clear, integrated, and systematic responses for every possible outcome, down to the last peso of funding, the last line of every public recommendation, and the last bullet point of implementation. Nothing must be left to chance. Inaasahan tayo ng ating mga kababayan. Huwag natin silang biguin. Maraming salamat at magandang umaga sa lahat. With that, since our country is experiencing a very complicated time and a very difficult time led by a potential shortage in fuel supply, we will proceed with hearing from our stakeholders from the oil industry. And we've invited, and I thank the members of the oil industry who has joined us today. So we will proceed with a briefing from the different stakeholders from the oil industry. We'd like to hear basic things. Number one, of course, this will not complete the entire picture because we didn't invite the entire oil industry here, but only the companies that have very high market share in the oil sector. So, but we would like to hear, number one, inventory levels. Number two, complications in terms of securing supply, and complications in terms of pricing mechanisms. And number three, your suggestions on how to address this crisis that we are facing, especially in the oil sector. So with that, we will start off with a briefing and comments from the Philippine Institute of Petroleum, represented by their Executive Director, Mr. Rafael Capinpin.
Good morning, Your Honor.
And before, Mr. Capinpin, before you go ahead with your briefing and presentation, if you have any, let me recognize Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Good morning, sir. So go ahead, Mr. Capinpin.
Yeah, okay, good morning, Your Honors. I think for the past few weeks, the members of the Philippine Institute of Petroleum, namely Petron, Shell, Chevron, PTT, and Isla, have been working very hard in trying to secure supply. And then it moved on to securing alternative sources of supply. And then recently, the initiative has been to even consider low specification fuels. And it has been agreed with the Department of Energy that as a last resort, we will bring in, if it is available, low specification fuel. Now, with regards to trading or securing supplies, it is not a secret that it's very hard to secure supplies now. So many of the traders are keeping quiet, especially for deliveries in May. There has been no responses for tenders for May. Now, with regards to the difficulties in ordering it, I'd rather defer the specific questions to the members here because they're the one who is actively involved in trading. For pricing, currently you can buy it, but it's very expensive. But then again, how long we can continue buying is a question. So, yeah. So that's it, Your Honor.
Before I ask questions regarding the situation of our oil sector, let me ask Senator Marcoleta if you have any opening statements, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chair. In the last hearing, I waived my right to make an opening statement, but I think today I should make one. Under Article 12, Section 17 of the 1987 Constitution, the state has the power to temporarily take over the operations of privately owned public utilities or businesses affected with public interest in times of national emergency when the public interest requires. Article 7, Section 23 of the same Constitution further provides that in times of national emergency, Congress may grant the President temporary emergency powers. To be a valid delegation, the legislative enactment must authorize the President for a limited period and subject to prescribed restrictions. While Section 14E of RA 8479 authorizes not the President, but the DOE to temporarily take over oil firms in times of emergency, the Supreme Court, in the case of Executive Secretary Leandro Mendoza et al. Versus Filipinas Petroleum Corporation, GR number 21-209216, February 21, 2023, ruled that such is a proper delegation consistent with the doctrine of qualified political agency. The court clarified, however, that the department secretaries are not given complete discretion over how to exercise the delegated authority. The doctrine dictates that the President retains control, having the authority to confirm, modify, or reverse the action taken by his department secretaries. Thus, while the language of Section 14, paragraph E appears to allow an interpretation that permits the DOE Secretary to act independently or without instructions from the President, the doctrine of qualified political agency entails a cabinet secretary, that a cabinet secretary may only exercise such authority acting as President's alter ego. Mr. Chair, the present state of national energy emergency recently decreed by the President due to the global petroleum supply disruption arising from the ongoing Iran-US-Israel conflict makes Executive Order number 839, 2009, especially relevant as a practical and constitutional precedent for emergency intervention in the downstream oil industry. At its core, Mr. Chair, Executive Order number 839 demonstrates that the Philippine government may lawfully intervene in the regulated oil market when an emergency threatens public welfare, fuel accessibility, and economic stability. Although the downstream oil industry is ordinarily governed by the market and the Republic Act number 8479, the law itself recognizes that the regulation is not absolute. Section 14E expressly authorizes the Department of Energy in times of national emergency and when public interest so requires to temporarily take over or direct the operations of any person or entity engaged in the industry. This power becomes highly significant today because the present crisis is not merely a matter of ordinary price fluctuation, but a systemic supply risk involving one, possible disruption of global crude flows and value chains, higher freight and insurance costs, import vulnerability of the Philippines, inflationary pressures on transport, food, power, and basic goods, and opportunities for hoarding, profiteering, supply withholding, and artificial shortages. Executive Order number 839 shows that emergency price intervention is legally possible even under a deregulated regime. EO 839 was issued during the Luzon calamity caused by typhoons Ondoy, Pepeng, and Ramil, when the executive directed oil companies to maintain the retail prices prevailing on October 15, 2009, in order to prevent predatory pricing, unreasonable pricing, and cartel-like conduct during a period of emergency. It was not treated as an abandonment of the regulation, Mr. Chair, but a temporary emergency correction mechanism authorized by law. That same logic is applicable today. If the current global war materially constrains petroleum supply or causes severe domestic dislocation, the government may justify temporary and targeted market controls, not to permanently regulate prices, but to preserve public order, ensure continuity of essential services, and protect consumers from abusive market behavior. In this sense, Mr. Chair, EO number 839 is best understood as a legal template for emergency stabilization measures in the oil sector. The ruling of the Supreme Court in the case of Executive Secretary Mendoza et al. Versus Filipinas Shell Corporation is highly relevant to the current crisis. The ruling confirms that the executive does not need to wait helplessly for market self-correction if national welfare is at stake. Rather, the President, acting through the DOE, may lawfully direct emergency measures in the downstream oil sector provided such actions are, number one, temporary, two, necessitated by public interest, three, proportionate to the emergency, and four, subject to presidential control. Thus, if today's emergency worsens, the government may invoke the same legal framework to justify active intervention in the oil industry. Unlike EO number 839, which was primarily a price freeze measure during several disasters affecting a specific geographical area, the current crisis is national in scope and rooted in an international geopolitical shock affecting supply chains and import availability. That means the state's emergency power under Section 14E may be used not only for price stabilization but also for supply assurance and distribution control. EO number 839 was later lifted by EO 845 once the immediate emergency conditions had eased and oil companies agreed to a targeted calamity assistance program. This is important, Mr. Chair, because it shows that emergency intervention need not be indefinite or absolute. It may be phased, adaptive, and responsive to actual conditions on the ground. That principle is highly applicable today. If the current energy emergency persists, the government is not limited to an all-or-nothing response. It may adopt time-bound controls, geographically targeted interventions, sector-specific fuel prioritization, or substituted relief mechanism where direct price controls become unsustainable. Mr. Chair, the oil deregulation law does not leave the government powerless in a crisis. On the contrary, it preserves a built-in emergency override, and EO number 839 shows how that override may be lawfully used when market forces alone are no longer sufficient to protect the public. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. Kaya po natin inimbitahan yung mga stakeholders na ho natin precisely ho para marinig din ho natin sa kanila yung mga possible solutions at kung ano ba ang situation ng ating nararanasan ngayon, especially ng ating mga oil companies. Talagang sa ganitong krisis, hindi lang ho tayo pwedeng nakasalalay sa ating pamahalaan dahil komplikado po itong krisis. Marami ho tayong tinitignan na iba't ibang aspeto. Kaya gusto rin ho natin marinig sa ating mga stakeholders, lalo na sa ating mga oil companies, kung ano yung mga possible solutions na pwede natin gawin at para maiwasan ho natin yung paglala nitong krisis na ito. Ako alam ko na alam rin ng ating mga stakeholders yung mga solutions. No? Whether kung maglalagay ho tayo ng budget, gagawa ho tayo ng batas kaagad, importante na marinig ho rin natin yung kanilang mga suggestion. So nagpapasalamat po ako, Senator Marcoleta, sa inyong intervention at napakahalaga na sa ganitong punto magtulong-tulong po ang pribadong sektor at ang pampublikong sektor para po malampasan natin itong nararanasan nating sitwasyon. So with that, with the permission of Senator Marcoleta, we can continue the briefing and presentations and also suggestions from the oil sector. We'll call first the associations. So we'll call Ms. Tanya Samiliano of the Independent Philippine Petroleum Companies Association.
Morning, sir. For IPPCA, our members have already confirmed with the DOE that so far our incoming importations are still arriving, but we haven't received any confirmation for future deliveries beyond April. As for the pricing, it varies, sir, according to each member company on how they implemented the price movement. It can be noted from the past few weeks, it differs between tranches of 2s, 3s, and recently one of our members also offered a discount on their prices. For the replenishments, I still stand similar to what the earlier item was mentioned. Future importations, tenders haven't been confirmed up to now. It's on a wait and see. There is, although there are some offers available in the market, but the price is very, very high. And also, we supported the request. Our request was supported by the DOE when we asked for leniency or relaxation on the standards of fuels that we're bringing in to make our sourcing wider and not limited to Euro 4 fuels. One of the items also we requested, sir, was the tax and cash flow measures. If it's possible for us to delay the payment of our excise tax during that time to relieve the pressure on the finance portion. Because like the motorists, oil companies also suffer from the financial constraint of the prices almost double their original amount. So our financial capacity is also limited. We spoke with the Secretary of Energy and also the Secretary of Finance for this, but we have yet to get a feedback on if it's going to be approved or accommodated.
Thank you to the independent Philippine petroleum companies. We'll go to the member companies, and first we want to thank the oil companies for sending their top executives for today's hearing. It's important to hear it straight from the horse's mouth rather than through other channels. So we will call on Petron Corporation, represented by their General Manager, Mr. Nepomuceno, Lubin Nepomuceno.
Morning to everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. On the issue confronting Petron, now with supply and prices, securing crude and finished products continue to become more difficult. Exporting countries, including China, Thailand, and Singapore, have since issued temporary bans to sell finished products to other countries. Replenishment of crude, which Petron primarily sources from the Middle East, has been halted as a result of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Recently, Petron managed, albeit very challenging, to procure additional crude and finished products. Suppliers are bidding out available volume, resulting in higher replacement cost. In addition, other costs, including freight, import premiums, and insurance, have substantially increased. In my mind, the country should prioritize ensuring sufficient supply of fuels. While it is important to look at prices, it is more critical that we maintain sufficient inventory to run our own industries and supply motorist requirement. As well, we have legacy accounts like the military and their allies. And so it is very critical that national security is in place. Supply disruption is more expensive and will be catastrophic consequence for the economy. To this end, the government may need to intervene through facilitation of supply arrangements with other countries. Similar to India's approach, our government may consider securing waiver from the United States to allow importation of crude from Russia. Currently, with the embargo on Russia, we are constrained to procure ESPO crude, which is viable feed for our refinery in Bataan. The Philippines may also explore G2G arrangements with our other fuel exporting countries in the region to give preferential treatment to our oil industry players. I am also the CEO of Malaysia, Petron Malaysia, and the country is a net importer. So some countries also in the region may not be able to help us. There are some recommendations that we would like to submit to the chair. Government to cap the collection of excise tax and VAT at $50 per barrel Dubai crude. Should prices breach the threshold, excise tax and VAT will remain at the level of $50. This is considering that earlier I have mentioned that premiums have increased, particularly for diesel. You will see now in the market, in the trading hubs, specifically in the region, it is Singapore, the premiums are already at $40. So you have the MAPS pricing of the crude plus $40, plus the trader's premium, the increase in freight, so the landed cost will actually be astronomical. Now, consider also the other inputs that are locally purchased, like the biofuels, the increase possibly of secondary transport, which is the vessels, the port charges, the tertiary means of delivering, which are the tank trucks, which will deliver to the customers, the service station, and the different customers. On the proposed re-regulation of the downstream oil industry, this will require government to institutionalize a subsidy mechanism. Using prevailing price of around $150 per barrel Dubai crude, which is the current level, the government will need to allocate 17 billion per year in subsidy to stabilize price at $50 per barrel. This is assuming around 469 million barrels daily demand per DOE report. On strategic petroleum reserve, we'd like to recommend that government put up strategic stockpile, which is a best practice in other countries, to provide buffer stock and stabilize prices during period of supply disruption. In-country crude reserves. For 90 days of crude oil stockpile of about 15 million barrels, we process about 5 million barrels a month and produce about 25 million liters daily. Will require about 54 billion should the government target stockpiling at $60 per barrel. Potential site at the PNOC Petrochem Development Park in Mariveles, Bataan, which is our neighbor about 5 kilometers away. So we can actually install a pipeline. And the refinery can process the crude, particular crude that can be used by the kind of configuration that we have at the refinery, which is typically Middle East crudes. 6 months crude reserve will require investment of around 108 billion should the government target a $60 per barrel crude price to start the crude stockpile. Investment for the strategic crude facility is estimated to be 50 billion, for which the government could provide a soft loan for the interested investor. Petroleum product reserves, specifically gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and LPG. The combined 27 million barrels requires a storage based on DOE's average daily demand for the period April to September 2025, pre-war. 30 days of product imports may be stored somewhere in Cavite, and another 30 days can be stored somewhere in Navotas or Bulacan. The required average daily for MOGAS is 23 million, diesel 32 million, jet 6 million, LPG 10 million. The required storage for 60 days will be equivalent to 27 million. And that, if we project a 1 million tank for the 27 million, that will mean 27 tanks. And that is the kind of storage that is required to have a tank farm. What is our stand on price control? If the prices are capped, oil companies will not be able to absorb losses and resort to business stoppage unless the government is willing to subsidize. This will result in fuel storages, shortages, as the oil companies will not be able to procure supply replacements at much higher cost. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Senator Marcoleta.
Mr. Chair, before we are overwhelmed by statistics coming from the oil companies, I think we should put some perspectives on today's hearing. You will note, Mr. Chair, that during the last hearing, this representation provided certain data coming from the tanks of Rotterdam Refinery and the tanks of Petronas, Malaysia, also docked in Singapore. May I be allowed to present this data, Mr. Chair, which I updated last night. So these are basic price data as of March 25, 2026.
Yes, go ahead, Senator Marcoleta.
Can you please, can you see it, Mr. Chair? This slide, Mr. Chair, is or provides the data supplied to me by Netherlands Refinery, Rotterdam tanks in Singapore. As of March 25, 2026, on the basis of 100,000 shipment, 100,000 metric tons, which means 118 million liters. And assuming that Philippine peso is 60 pesos per $1, 1 metric ton equals 1,180 liters. The FOB price, as you will see in this slide, Mr. Chair, is 570 US metric ton per metric ton. Okay? Metric ton. Yung shipping cost nito, Mr. Chair, ito, 1,500. Okay. So, yung MOPS niya is $1.71 per liter. Kapag kinumpute natin ito, Mr. Chair, FOB, $570. So, translate na natin $15 per liter. Isama natin ng $15 per liter. And MOPS of 1.71. Multiply that by 60, Mr. Chair, and divided by 1,180. Conversion in liters. Makikita po nyo dyan, the FOB landed cost is 29 pesos 83 centavos. Kapag inad po natin yung mga local add-ons, importation, distribution, and storage deposit to acquire TSA, broker fees, duties for change charges, SGS survey, wharfage, incidental charges, 12% VAT, excise tax, BIR fuel marking, 2% CME per liter, and VAT differential totaling only 15 pesos and 51 cents. Ang total landed cost, Mr. Chair, is 45 pesos and 35 centavos. So yung SRP po, or passion price, for example, at 55 pesos per liter, meron pa pong tubo na 9.6 pesos. In the last hearing, you will recall, Mr. Chair, I was asking the DOE Secretary kung paano po nangyari 2 weeks ago before the war, the price of diesel is 55 pesos per liter. Bigla pong sumirit ng 125 average of 125 liters after 2 weeks. The difference is 70 pesos, Mr. Chair, or an increase of 127. Ito po verifiable sa paano po. Can you show the second slide? Yan ba yan? Mr. Chair, ito po yung second slide. Yung nauna kanina, FOB price, kaya 570 per metric ton, US dollars. Ito po CIF, $640 per metric ton. So palagay mo, lagyan din natin ng shipping cost of $15 per metric ton. At saka yung MAPS, 1.71. The same computation, FOB landed price, 33 pesos and 39 centavos. So isama po natin yung binanggit ko pong mga add-on, local add-ons, 51.51, 48 pesos and 91 cents. So with the SRP or passion price of 55 per liter, may 6 pesos pa pong tubo eh. So paano po nangyari? Kaya hindi ko po maintindihan. Nagpatulong na po kami sa DOE nung isang hearing. Hindi naman po nila maipaliwanag. And they were asking for my data. Ayan na po yung mga data. Will you show the last? Mr. Chair, ito po yung last slide. CIA po ito. Dito po Petronas, Malaysia Refinery. The tanks are all in Singapore. O ito po makikita nyo, $680 per metric ton, CIF. Maski lagyan pa natin ang shipping cost na $15 at saka yung 1.71 na MAPS. Again, using the same computation translated into liters, 35 pesos and 42 centavos. Plus the local add-ons, 50 pesos 94. Passion price, 55. Meron pa pong tubong 4 pesos per liter. How do we explain this? Sinasabi po ninyo you were importing it from Dubai and you cannot penetrate it because of the closure of the Hormuz Strait of Hormuz. Bakit po yun ang reference natin? I'm talking about the prices now being quoted by the tanks in Singapore. Petronas and Rotterdam tanks in Singapore. This is tanks to vessel transaction. Alam ko po, alam nyo ito. So, yung vessel po lalapit lang sa tanks. Kung gusto nyo, CIF, yung tanks na lang lalapit sa inyo. But these are the prices. You can check the prices in Singapore. Nasa akin po eh. I check it with a friend in Singapore. It's very easy naman po eh. We have an embassy in Singapore, I suppose, na maaaring makapagtanong din siya to check this data. Bakit po, the President said 2 weeks ago, we have about 50 to 60 na inventory. Okay. After 2 weeks, bakit po sumirit ng ganun? Inventory pa nyo, meron pa po tayo. During the last hearing, we have 45 days for diesel and 54 days for gasoline as admitted by DOE. So what are we talking about? Prices of Dubai or Argus benchmark analysis or even the MOPS? Why are we using indicators when there are basic prices even quoted by the tanks in Singapore? Bakit po yung reference natin is the MOPS or the Argus benchmark? Why so? These are hard facts, Mr. Chair. I'm showing it to you now. Saan po ninyo kinukuha yung langis ba? Dubai?
May I answer, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I am not familiar with the data that is being presented. But very clearly also, Dubai price now is 140. You can ask DOE. How can a product be cheaper than $140 per barrel?
Sir, because it is being referenced to the Argus benchmark, the Argus data. You're taking it from the maps. You talk about Dubai maps or Singapore Platts. Indicators po ito eh. This is the trading floor, like WSM. Tinetrade po natin yon. Pero kung yung mga tangki na po sa Petronas ang nagsasabi and they're providing this data to us, paano po natin i-reconcile ito? I'm not questioning your indicators po, but I am only showing some figures, hard facts, that are supplied to me.
Your Honor, again, this is the first time that we've seen the numbers. We would love to check it as well. But
Yes, sir.
Yun Argus po kasi is another information provider. Para lang din maps yun eh. Pero dito kasi, plots ang ginagamit.
Yes, sir. Ano po yun eh? Worldwide po yun eh. Let's take the example of WSM sa electricity po. It's a trading floor. Ang WSM po, kapag ka walang bilateral contracts po yung supplier ng kuryente, pupunta sa WSM. Kung bilateral, may mga suppliers po, ang Meralco, okay lang po yun. Pupunta lahat sila sa WSM. So yung WSM, the trading floor, ito yung spot market, ididikta niya. Pero hindi lahat ng pagkakataon sa WSM po yun. Kumisan nga eh, sa WSM magtataka kayo eh, 32 pesos pa nga eh, per kilowatt hour, which is impossible. Sa Meralco, siguro 10, 11 pesos per kilowatt hour. Sa electric cooperative, siguro, medyo mataas ng konti, 14 to maybe 18 pesos per kilowatt hour. Yan sinasabi po ninyo is the trading floor. That's the spot market. But I'm telling you, these are the figures. You can check it. Kaya po binigay ko na po rin para makita po ninyong lahat. I can even give you a name of a company in Singapore. Para siya po yung makipag-deal. It will take only the government, siguro mag-issue po kayong letter of intent. Baka mamaya po, sumagot na po yun eh. And for our country to issue the ICPO. Yusek, meron kang gusto sabihin?
Oh. We'd like to thank, for the record, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. On behalf of the DOE, we asked for the data precisely to validate and also look into the conversion and the computation. So I'd like to thank the Honorable Marcoleta for showing it right now.
For the record, Mr. Chair, may I provide the copies of the 3 slides I have shown?
Yeah, the committee will request for those computation and furnish the Department of Energy those computations as well as the associations of the different oil companies. With
For
your
the record,
permission.
Mr. Chair, I am leaving it with the committee.
Yes.
And for the DOE to just access this particular data.
We will
Thank you very
furnish
much,
the
Mr. Chair.
we will furnish the department, Senator Marcoleta. We'll discuss pricing later on. No? We're also very interested with pricing kasi yan ang dumediretso sa sikmura ng bawat isa. Pag sinabi natin pricing, talagang literally diretso sa sikmura ng bawat isa, especially ng ating mga PUV drivers. No? So, pag-uusapan ho natin yung mamaya at request ko nga si Senator Marcoleta to provide us with this computation because seems to me na napakalayo naman po yung quotation na nakuha ni Senator Marcoleta, which is just yesterday, versus yung actual pricing na nakikita natin ngayon. But we'll discuss that later on after we finish the comments and the statements. So next will be Chevron, represented by Mr. Tang Manuswong, the President and Country Chairman of Chevron Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Before addressing the 4 inquiries from Mr. Chair, let me quickly address the point about the pricing. First and foremost, that's our first time seeing this information, so I appreciate if we can get that information for our validation purpose and also to make sure that the unit and the conversion is aligned with the practice here in the Philippines. What I immediately see from the list, what is missing is one of the key cost factor, which is the product premium that we have to pay to the trader. And that's already a big chunk of the cost component coming to the Philippines. Just to give an idea, now we are talking about dollar per barrel unit. Unlike the dollar per liter unit just flashed up earlier, MOPS yesterday for diesel was more than $220 per barrel, while the product premium that we have to pay to the trader in order to get the supply is supposed to be, in normal circumstances, is between $0 to $1 per barrel premium. But as of yesterday, it's more than $40 per barrel. That's the premium that we have to pay to the trader in order to get the supply. Again, after getting the information, that spreadsheet, we are willing to clarify and confirm the information whether the current information that we are using is aligned with that information or not. Now coming back to the 4 inquiries from Mr. Chairman, the first one is the inventory. For Chevron, at this point of time, similar to the information provided by DOE, we have sufficient inventory up until the last week of April. So that's our current inventory situation. But anyway, that's based on the normal level of the demand. Second is on the supply security. Similar to the information provided to DOE, Chevron already secured the shipments in April. Having said that, there are also possible uncontrollable factors coming from the source countries. As Mr. Lubin mentioned earlier, some of the countries already banned the export of fuel product to outside of the country. So those are uncontrollable factors that may impact to the supply security of the company. At the moment, we are in the finalization stage of the May shipment, which is yet to confirm. And talking about the global supply chain, we get the product from refineries in the region, and most of the refineries in Asia got the crude oil from Middle East. Right now, all refineries are still running using the crude oil inventory before the war. That normally lasts for 45 to 60 days. That means at this point of time, refinery can still continue the production, although almost all of them, I would say, most of them already reduced the production capacity. So the supply from the refinery is already tight, and the impact will come to the import countries likely end of April and May, and that's when the refineries will have to secure the crude supply, the new crude supply from Middle East. So right now the issue is pretty much on the pricing. The supply is tight, but for Chevron it's still manageable, at least for March and April. Number 3, talking about the pricing mechanism, I would like to mention again that yes, we import based on the Platts index, which is MOPS in Singapore. On top of that, we also have to compete with other buyers to pay product premium to the trader in order to get the supply. On top of that is the increasing freight and insurance. And because of the ongoing battle in the Middle East, many of the insurance brokers or companies stop providing the insurance to the vessel owner already. So that's adding on top of the difficulty of getting the vessel. After that, then before coming to the country, we also have to handle the forex, the foreign exchange rate, which is peso is weakening, so you have to absorb that. So that's for the pricing. And last but not the least, about the support from the government. I have a few points. First one is the importation process. During this time, the best is we get the product in an effective and timely manner. So we would like to get the support from all relevant authorities to try to simplify the importation process, not to delay the unloading of the product from the international vessel to the terminal. Second is to streamline the activity across all government entities, central government, and also LGUs, because we still continue to experience different treatment or different actions from the central government, namely DOF, DOE, versus the local treatment from the LGU. So that's add on the complexity to our supply operation. And last one is many of the countries, as mentioned earlier, already banned the exportation of the product. So we would like to request for support from the government to have the G2G discussion with the government of other countries to ease their policy and to support the exportation to the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you. We recognize the presence of Senator Bam Aquino. Yes, Senator Marcoleta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And we also recognize the presence of Senator Lauren Legarda.
Morning.
Representative from Chevron, we're coming from different perspective. What is the monthly consumption of the Philippines in terms of diesel? Diesel-wise, what is the national consumption?
The daily volume is 33 million a day.
Sir, I'm talking about monthly. How much?
Monthly is 900
Metric tons or barrels or what?
million liters.
996,348,000 liters. That's correct. Tama po.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, halimbawa, pag-usapan po natin yung diesel. Sabi po ng President, before the war broke out, we had 50 to 60 days of supply. Tama po. So after 2 weeks po, yung 55, tumaas po ng average sa 125. Kinuha po natin yun sa inventory, yung 125, sir. Tama po. Sir, you have to answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I cannot speak for the others.
Yes, sir. Kayo po yung sumagot kasi tinatanong ko yung Chevron, kayo po yung sumagot eh. Okay?
I had the number kasi.
Yes, sir. So, 996,348,000 liters per month. Yun po yung consumption natin sa diesel. So, nagkaroon po ng increase na 70 pesos per liter after 2 weeks. That's 127%. So, tingnan po ninyo, Mr. Chair. 996,348,000 liters times 70 divided by 30 days. That's 2.32 billion per day, approximately gross income. Is my computation correct, sir? Ulitin ko po, 996,348,000 liters times 70, ito po yung increase, divided by 30, 2.32 billion per day ang approximate gross income. Kasi kinuha nyo po sa inventory. Wala pa naman po yung, di pa naman kayo umaangkat. 2 weeks pa lang po nakaraan eh. Gasoline. It used to be 50 liters per day. pre-war, naging 80 liters po, average, after 2 weeks. So meron pong difference na 30 pesos per liter or an increase of 67%. Sir, ilan po yung consumption natin ng gasoline per month? $4,521,000 barrels or 714,318,000 liters. Correct po? Can I get a confirmation? Anybody from? Welcome.
Anyone from the from DOE or from our from
These
the
figures were
stakeholders?
supplied to me by a friend from the oil companies.
I think DOE will be the more appropriate resource person to shed light on this matter.
Mr. Chair, as confirmed kanina, yung diesel is around 32.5 million liters per day. More or less 33
Then,
million.
na natin yun,
The gas-
996,348,000.
Yeah,
So yung
gasoline,
gasoline na lang,
gasoline is around 23.3 million liters per day.
or 714,318,000 liters. Tama po?
The 23.3 million is already in liters, Mr. Chair. Daily.
Kaya nga, times 30, ilan? $714,318,000 liters of gasoline. Tama po.
That's correct. Around
Oh,
600.
yan. Ito po, ganito. 714,318,000 liters of gasoline times 30 days. That is 714 million per day. Approximate gross income. So pag pinagsama po natin itong dalawa lamang, Mr. Chair, per day po ito sa diesel po, 2,324,312,812,000 plus 714,318,000. Ang gross income po per day is 3,039,130,000 per day. 3 billion, Mr. Chair. Kinuha po ninyo sa inventaryo ninyo ito. 2 weeks pa lang ang nakakaraan. Alam po ninyo, Mr. Chair, I have to apologize for making this comparison. Yung 18 Marines po, yung kanilang mga dineliver na mga maleta, kinumpute ko rin po Despite the logistical nightmare scenario that was peddled to the public, ganito po yun Approximately, they were delivering 2 billion pesos per day. Based on 33 months times 4 weeks, average po ng about 42.5 maletas, averaging 40 million each maleta. Ito pong gross income na kinocompute ko, Mr. Chair, mas mataas pa po doon sa maleta na dinala po ng 18 Marines. Allegedly. Wala po akong inaano. I'm just trying to see. I mean, yung analogy lang po. Wala po akong pakialam kung totoo o hindi totoo yung sinasabi po doon sa sworn statement. That has yet to be investigated properly. Ang kwento ko po is 2 billion a day, yung sinasabi nila. Ang sabi ko nga po, I'm not saying that that is correct. That is yet to be investigated properly and in proper time. Pero ito pong sinasabi ko, it's 3 billion pesos per day ang gross income po ng National Oil Company. These are not my figures. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. Again, we'll discuss the pricing later on, and I'm sure our friends from Manibela also have some observation on that. We'll finish the presentations from the oil sector. Next will be Shell Filipinas Corporation, represented by Ms. Lorelie Kiambao Ocial, the President and CEO.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, other senators and members of the committee. Good morning to everyone attending here today. Today is March 26, which is the 26th day of the technical closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And that accounts for 20% of the flows of molecules in the world. And most of that is going through Asia. Therefore, if the conflict continues, then there will really be tightness in the entire world, which is first felt in Asia. So I do echo what Mr. Nepomuceno and Kunbon has mentioned when it comes to the tightness in supply. And it is getting tighter and tighter. And with Asia being the first region, India and then Asia being the first regions impacted. Then you also see like LPG problems in India and in Asia, the tightness. And as a result of that, then you do see a number of the governments declaring export bans, which has resulted to refineries declaring force majeure. Now, global prices for oil and gas are global. Therefore, even Mr. Trump, who has sufficient supply, is not spared from the elevated prices. So that region is not also spared. So when it comes to the supply and inventory of Shell Filipinas Corporation, that is our foremost. I think our priority right now is to ensure that during this time we are able to still get molecules into the country. We want to make sure that we continue to supply reliable, safe, and quality fuel. Now, while we adhere to and maintain what is required by the government when it comes to inventory levels, at times like this, we recognize that is not enough. And therefore, we are exerting best efforts to still go beyond the minimum, making sure that we have enough stock coverage. It is extraordinary times. I think as the other players have mentioned, there are molecules out there, it's still available, but then with the elevated prices, it's really felt. And if you look at, even if you look at MOPS pricing at the end of February, it was 71. It has reached as high as 160 last week, and I think 140-ish yesterday. So that's also a 120% increase. I think it was mentioned on market premium, which is also published. It was hovering around $0 to $2 per barrel at the end of February, and now we are seeing numbers 30, 41. Insurance costs have gone up, freight costs have also gone up, and indeed it is not helped. It is not helped also by where the peso is. So I think for Shell Filipinas Corporation, we support an all-society approach when it comes to how we work together moving forward to make sure that we are able to help our country. Now, for us, when it comes to resourcing and sourcing of molecules, we do rely on our global trading network. And aside from, for example, the usual routes that we have, then we've really gone into diversification when it comes to sourcing. We've also looked at contingency routing for that matter. And we are making sure that we prevent ourselves from being in a position where we are running short. But again, there is a question on pricing. So in the discussion, indeed, with the DOE, and I think which the DOE is now doing, we did ask for support when it comes to granting security to cargoes that we have already contracted. So we do see some countries exercising an export ban. So our ask has been through the G2G discussions to ensure that our contracts are honored and the cargo that is bound for the Philippines does get loaded and does get shipped and not diverted. We also support, I think, the government's efforts when it comes to targeted subsidies, and therefore we also have programs when it comes to PUVs and TNVS, for example. I think for us, even through this time, then we make sure that we are really compliant, yeah, with all the government requirements. Even when it comes to the schedules, yeah, around pricing increases, for example, and other things. I think on the diversification of supply, I think one thing that is under discussion is to align some of our standards with other countries, such as Australia and Malaysia, because for some of the specifications for the Philippines, then we have higher specifications. Now, if we align with other countries, then that does open up sourcing options for us, and therefore that is also being discussed. I guess with the excise tax suspension, which is now enacted into law, we also are prepared to make sure that that is implemented in a clear and in a coordinated manner, together with the DOE, together with the DOF, the BIR, and the BOC. So I'll leave it there when it comes to the update from Shell Filipinas Corporation.
Thank you. And lastly, we call on Ms. Jetty, yes, Senator Marcoleta.
Just a few questions, Madam. Everybody else in the oil industry is pinpointing the Strait of Hormuz as the chief villain. But you said that only 20% of the oil supply is coming through the route, the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. What about the Suez Canal, Madam? Are you assuming that it is closed?
So right now, the Suez Canal is not closed. So
Yes.
you look at three waterways.
No, I'm only asking you if the Suez Canal is closed also.
It is not closed.
It is not, of
Yeah.
course. And you know that the oil of Russia and probably Kazakhstan are being processed by Rotterdam. You know about that?
It is a global business.
Yes,
I will have
Madam.
to check that.
What I'm saying is Suez Canal is open. America is not affected by the Strait of Hormuz. Okay.
From a pricing
Petronas of
perspective,
Malaysia
it
is not
impacts the
affected
entire
by
world.
the Suez. Petronas of Malaysia is not affected by the Strait of Hormuz. Am I correct?
Everyone is affected by the closure of the Strait
Everyone.
of Hormuz.
Why everyone? I have shown to you
Sir, because
the
of the
data.
pricing, which is global.
that is always the argument. You're always returning back to the argument of a replacement cost, of Argus, of maps, and the plots. But what about the data I have just shown a few minutes ago?
I think, as mentioned by the other members, we have not seen that data, and we would be happy to look at it. Now, if you then look at market dynamics,
As we speak, you
each-
can already check this, Madam.
we will have a look at it, sir. I would be happy to have a look at it.
Of course, of
yeah.
course. And this committee awaits for confirmation on your side,
Yes.
if these data are correct or not.
Yes.
That's
Now,
the only issue.
I hear you.
Because this data, as you might have noted, they do not even, they even included the VAT and the excise tax and even the biofuel. Earlier, even our committees also took upon ourselves of legislating, let's say, suspending the collection of VAT or even the excise tax, and even suspending or replacing our CME with PME, which is, of course, will be affecting our coconut industry. But in this data that I have just presented, we will preserve all this. That's why it is very important for you to please check on this data, first of all, before we even continue discussing your apprehensions and your world data and the trending and the trading floor and the spot market and blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sir, Mr.
So
Chairman.
happy to.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Makino.
Mr. Chairman, ang data na binabanggit ni Senator Marcoleta, no, kung totoo po ay mahalaga talaga, can we ask DOE para po, matagal pa po tayo dito, maybe we can talk to the staff of Senator Marcoleta, some of the industry players. We can go on the side and tingnan natin kung option ba talaga to para makita natin kung yung veracity nitong data na to, no, please.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I approached some of the members of the Senate staff.
Yusek, please sit down.
Can you give, Director Abad, can you sit down in this chair so that...
Actually, Mr. Chair, we already approached the Senate staff so that we can compare and check the computation, looking into the details, including but not limited to the conversions.
If this, if the information and the supplier of Senator Marcoleta is true and existing, then I think that will be fantastic for our country kasi mababa yung presyo, no? So I think it's to the best interest of DOE to check it ASAP. Now, we'll give you the materials in a while.
Can we ask for official position from the DOE before the end of the hearing? I mean, matagal-tagal pa naman tayo dito, Yusek Wimpy, no? Can we look at the data, please, maybe with some of our industry players and get a formal answer before the end of the day?
We have an initial position already, but we just want to have it validated. Thank you.
So lastly, we call on Mr. Collado of Jet Petroleum.
I'm sorry, sir. We have an initial position, not official. Initial position already.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Collado. Or Mr. Asioche.
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. Thank you for inviting us here. Insofar as JET is concerned, we also have the same problems with the other oil companies, like the difficulty in procuring the supply. That is our number one focus right now. Now it's been getting tighter and tighter as the war drags on. Fortunately, we have kept all our stations open. They are still adequately supplied. So wala pa po nagsasara sa aming network of stations. Okay. We have about 20 plus days for supply right now. This is on site. It means that what is kept already on our depots. Now we have some orders coming in, and so far only one vessel so far that we can confirm in transit. It's already in transit. Some are still loading, so until that has been loaded and coming in, we cannot still confirm how the volume of that vessel. Okay, so far that's what I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asioche. Yes.
Saan po kayo nagpapaload?
Sir, good morning. Dito lang po, we only load in sa East Asia. So,
Saan nga po?
Malaysia, China, South Korea mostly. Sir, we only import finished goods po. Finished product.
Kasi po kung bibili pa kayo sa South Korea, siyempre iba-iba ng layer yun. Ang sinasabi ko, dumirekta po kayo sa mga tangke na nandun sa Singapore. Kanina ko pa nga po sinasabi yun. Bakit nga po ayon yung tingnan yun? Kasi po, kung doon tayo nakapokus, there is no problem to speak of in the first place. Kapag napatunayan po na tama yung data. Hindi po ba?
Sir, I believe Singapore has ceased all exports.
Ano po?
Singapore has ceased all exports.
Hindi nga po, kung ma-check po ninyo yung data ang sinasabi ko, I can give you even a name to contact.
Sir, okay. Thank you very much. We would like to get that data.
Yeah, well, we'll request Senator Marcoleta to give us the information of that supplier. Siguro kailangan na natin siya ngayon. No? To be honest about it, after hearing the statements of the oil companies, medyo na-depress po ako dahil parang hanggang May na lang tayo. After May, tama po ba? Hanggang April pala, until end of April. After end of April, parang
For Petron, it's up to the end of May.
end of May for Petron, but the others is until end of April, correct?
We're continuing to work on getting more supply week
Yeah.
in and week
But
out.
what I wanted to hear is certainty na merong supply papasok. No? And after hearing all of the comments, ang narinig ko is uncertainty. No? After April, after May, and it's quite concerning because you cannot run a country with uncertainty of fuel supply. No? You cannot run businesses with uncertainty of fuel supply. No? So with that, we will drill down on those details later on, and we'll allow our senators now to propound their questions. Senator Marcoleta, since you came in early, you have 10 minutes, unless you have already asked all your questions. And then Senator Bamakino after.
Salamat po, Mr. Chair. Gusto ko pong i-direct ang tanong ko sa DOE. Kasi po kanina sa opening statement, Mr. Chair, binanggit po natin yung Republic Act 8489. Kakambal na nga po niya yung binanggit po natin na executive order. Magagamit po ba ninyo itong nandiyan ba si Secretary? Wala. Magagamit ba ninyo yung Section 14, Article E, Paragraph E ng 8479?
Yes, it is available, Mr.
Kasi
Chair.
po, last resort ito eh.
Yes.
Kung ako pong tatanungin nyo, ayoko pong dito tayo humantong. Kasi last resort na po ito, Mr. Chair. Parang napakalaki na ng problema ng ating bansa. Kapag ito po ang ginamit na natin. At ang katambal nga yung Executive Order 839. Ito naman po ay pinangatawanan ng Supreme Court sa kasong binanggit ko kanina.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, kung ganito po yung senaryo ang sinasabi nila, at ito nga pinangangambahan na ng chairman, maski po ako talagang kinakabahan na rin. Baka May, sabi niya, May Day na. Paano ngayon ito? Paano kayo papasok kung ganun halimbawa yung senaryo ang sinasabi nila? Meron po ba kayong nakalaan na mechanism kung paano natin gagamitin ang available na batas na para sa inyo?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Chair. Would also like to thank the Senator for bringing out the limitations, because it is important that we emphasize the need for balancing. And even in the local level, we emphasize that balancing. Meaning, pag sobra yung supplies natin sa lokal, mali po yun. Pag kulang naman po, mali din yun. Paano po natin may iwasan yung mga kamalian? Una-una po, yung behavior nating lahat is not only on the supply, but also on the demand. We have to regularly go about with our business, considering that even if we say na hanggang May lang siya, tandaan po natin ang cycle ng pag-order. It's around 2 weeks. At na-emphasize po natin 2 days ago that we have sufficient supply considering na almost puno yung ating mga storage facilities. So, may kailangan ba tayong mangamba? kung nakikita po natin yung nangyayari sa Middle East na wala pang linaw, mangangamba po tayo doon. Pero kung meron po ba tayong solusyon? Meron po tayong solusyon. 14E is indeed extreme, but it always gives, it is the wisdom of Congress and the law to give that strategy as a last resort to government for protection of everyone, not only of the consumers, but also for business. So, yun po yung ine-emphasize ng Department of Energy. Now, with this declaration from the President, we have scenarios precisely to avoid that grim scenario na mas nagkakaroon ng leeway ang Department of Energy. But we can tackle first what happened before that. So, we were talking to the oil companies of trying to see how we can assist them. But we also emphasize the proper behavior on the supply side. There should be no favoritism of gasoline stations in the distribution locally. There should be no hoarding for the gasoline stations so that it will be available for all our consumers. There should also be no hoarding for our consumers because at the end of the day, the balance will be distorted if there will be a problem on the supply, on the behavior of the suppliers, and a problem of the consumers on the demand side. We have also been calling for energy efficiency, and we have called for all these strategies, coordinating with the local chief executives, coordinating with the chiefs of police. Now, when Uplift convenes, we will have...
Mr. Chair, can we be more specific, sir? Because emergency nga ang sinasabi nila eh. Ako naman sabi ko parang wala akong makitang emergency, but the other side is talking about a grim scenario. So kung halimbawa talagang meron ng grim scenario, ano bang gagawin ng DOE? For example, para lang magkaintindihan tayo, can DOE, for example, issue a show cause order?
Yes.
Nag-yes ka kagad, hindi mo pa
Ay, sorry.
tinatanong. For example, can the DOE issue a show cause order to stations, for example, gas stations, that implement price hikes beyond what is qualified or what is justified by maps? Kasi kunyari, tanggapin natin merong maps or Argus averages. Kasi ang pinag-uusapan natin ngayon, kanina tinanong ko, wala naman sumagot isa man sa mga oil companies. After 2 weeks, inventaryo pa yung binebenta nila. How come biglang nagtaas ng ganun? Meron ba kayong ginawa para check-in the justification? Reasonable ba yung pagtaas? I already computed 3 billion gross income per day. Do you think that is justified? Do you think that is reasonable? Anong ginawa ng DOE para tingnan yon? Ang inventaryo nila is 50 to 60 days eh. So ang ibig ko sabihin, can DOE also, siguro, short of legislation, kasi sabi naman ng batas eh, in times of emergency, when national interest requires, can you mandate the oil companies, for example, to itemize? The word is unbundle their costs, no? Starting from the base international price, the maps, the plots, the Argus, yung freight, yung insurance, and the profit margins. National emergency ito eh. And then can you mandate them to maintain a larger physical stock of buffer against sudden and real global spikes so that we can reduce the immediate replacement cost? Kasi sinasabi natin, Mr. Chair, magbebenta sila 120% more using the replacement cost. Can we justify that? Starting from the DOE, anong gagawin nyo? The oil companies will use the replacement cost kahit hindi naman kailangan because the inventory was still there. The DOE is not doing anything. So the law is very clear. Under emergency situation when the public interest requires it. Ito yung tinatanong namin sa inyo. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are you requesting DOE to respond? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Let me clarify. We have heard from the previous meeting and also today that the DOE has done a lot. So can the DOE issue show cause orders? Yes, it can. Because that is the one that triggers the discussion on the reasonableness. Kung merong complaint ang ating mga kababayan, pinapag-explain natin yung ating mga gasolinahan para ma-validate kung meron nga bang profiteering, kung meron nga bang hoarding na nangyayari. So, meron po ba tayong ginawa doon? Yes, and I have mentioned that in the previous hearing. So, this is also to make sure that we are all working together on this to pacify everyone so that even if we see that we have sufficient supply sa May, we're also looking at, do we have the storage capacity for more? And how do we address the uncertainty, including in the strategy of the Department of Energy, aside from those mentioned by the oil companies, is for the government, through its GOCC, to try to address getting other suppliers. And we have PNOC or PNOCEC, if they are here, to provide the updates on that end. We were also able to look into not only the demand-side management, but the coordination on the ground. How do we make sure that the balance is not only for the country, but when we pass through San Juan going to Makati, diesel will be available. Kasi meron tayong mga nakukuhang reports that some items are not available in certain gasoline stations. So what is the strategic coordination that we presented earlier? From the local chief executives to the chiefs of police, we also coordinate with the NICA yesterday. And we are doing all these even without the Uplift convening already. That's why we also thank the Senate for convening the Protect so that we can have more ideas coming in. So has the DOE done a lot? Yes. So there is the show cause order. From the show cause order, it goes through the scrutiny, and if there will be more explanations that should be written and under oath, it opens up those who will not tell us the truth or those who will not submit that documents that are truthful. It opens up criminal cases, including but not limited to perjury, including but not limited to falsification of documents. So even without using 14E, we have been doing all this under the certificate of compliance. So we are using, in a way, the conditions that we have given out to all those that would engage in the business of selling petroleum products. So we also emphasize that the business of selling petroleum products carries with it a greater responsibility. They were given by the oil deregulation law to have pricing strategies, partnerships with malls, partnerships with credit cards, so that they will be able to compete and enable themselves to expand their network throughout the country. But what the DOE also emphasizes is there should be no abuse of market position or market behavior, especially during times of extraordinary circumstances, which is what we have now. So have the oil companies and the gasoline stations been cooperating? Generally, yes, but we are still looking for those who have not been cooperating. So when we showed our faces on the ground, we were not there to tell everyone that we will close the gasoline stations. No, we were telling everyone that government is present, government will protect not only the business, but especially our consumers. So everyone has a stake here. So that is what we are doing. So 14E, under the oil deregulation law, is available as an extreme scenario, but we will not get there because of the cooperation. And if we see that there are people or gas stations or businessmen that are not cooperating, we will go after them. Because yun po yung mga exercises na gano'n ang pwedeng magpabilis na umabot tayo sa extreme scenario, which we want to avoid. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for those answers. We Now recognize Senator Bam Aquino, and you have 10 minutes, sir.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I have numerous questions here, no, for different agencies. But let's begin with the DOE sa excise tax, no? So pirmado na yung batas sa pagsuspindi ng excise tax, and now it is up to the President to actually trigger this or not. May we know if there is a timeline sa pag-trigger ng powers na ito? Meron na ba kayo na pag-usapan?
I have to validate, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, but I know that we already sent the communication whether or not the breach on the $80 was already happened. So yun po, just have to validate. Kasi I think the next step there, I'm assuming that it's the same as the law before. Yung ating DBCC and the economic managers will be the one to recommend upon the submission of the DOE that the trigger was
No, let me clarify with Senator Win, di ba? That was our amendment. We included the $80. We've breached $80 already, no? So that's done. I'm trying to recall, was there a provision on DBCC recommendation?
If I may,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, yes. Sa batas, 30 days kailangan ma-breach yung 80. So, ibig sabihin, kung pirmahan lang kahapon, mag-aantay ng 30 days na na-breach yung 30.
No,
yung 80.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, if I may, I think we clarified in the interpolation that we don't have to wait for the law to begin. If it is an ongoing above 80, we can look backwards, no?
Pero 30 days. So,
I think we've breached
30 days?
30 days. Okay, because we're already at 120, if I'm not mistaken, no? Nasa $120 na ba tayo?
That's why-
Or higher, it's 130. No, it's much higher. Yes, Mr. Ferrer?
We're at 140.
We're at 140. So we've breached 80. Matagal na natin na-breach yung 80. Yung tanong kung 30-day average. But in the interpolation, we clarified that the count doesn't begin when the law is signed. The count is actually, you can count backwards, no?
Yes.
So I would guess we're practically there already.
That's why I'm validating. I think we already triggered it.
Okay. I think we're already there, no? So that's the first trigger.
So let me validate it. I think
Okay.
we did, but we have to wait
Sige.
for the official position. Of
Okay,
the
so let's assume that we have. I want to clarify, was there a second provision on DBCC recommendation? Could we check nga? Meron, no? Okay, so it's may upon recommendation of the DBCC in coordination with the Secretary of Energy suspend the imposition or reduce excise taxes of fuel when the MOPS reaches or exceeds $80 per barrel for 1 month immediately preceding the issuance of the suspension or reduction order. So klaro na hindi siya nagsisimula when the law begins. It can go backwards. Pangalawa is kailangan ng recommendation ng DBCC in coordination with the Secretary of Energy or DOE. So, Yusek Wimpy, since Secretary Garin is not here and you're the highest here, ikaw ang tatanungin ko, I'm almost sure we can confirm that 30 days average has been done already. Kung hindi pa, it's just a few more days. Aabot na rin tayo dyan.
Sen Bam, if I may, hindi pwedeng hindi alam. DOE yan eh. Kayo ang timon ng gobyerno eh. Hindi pwedeng hindi alam. Sabihin nyo ngayon.
That's where I'm getting at,
Yes,
Senator
thank you,
Loren.
thank you.
So we will confirm kung umabot na tayo ng 30 days. If not, this price is not gonna go down anytime soon. We can predict when the 30 days is up. So napag-uusapan nyo na po ba to trigger the suspension of excise tax sa DOE? Because mukhang sa inyo nagsisimula eh. It's in coordination with the Secretary of Energy. So sa inyo po nagsisimula yan, Yusek Wimpy.
That's correct. That's why I mentioned earlier that we compute. If it breaches that, we already send a communication to the DBCC. What I'm trying to tell the committee is nandun sa yung kasama po ng staff niyo yung si director na mas kabisado kung kailan na-send or kung na-send na nga yung trigger. But I know that we already sent it. I just wanted to validate it.
So Sorry, there are two triggers. The first trigger is pag lumampas na sa $80, no?
Yes.
We're finding out kung umabot na tayo sa 30 days average. Okay, mukhang umabot na. The second trigger is Secretary of Energy, DBCC, to recommend to the President to suspend. Have you sent that already? Not yet. Let them answer,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Have we sent that already?
I'm not, that's why I wanted to validate it.
Okay,
because-
sige. I'll get back to you, Yusek Wimpy.
Yes.
Let's go to my other question.
Thank
So,
you.
unang-una, kami po, nagmadali kami para mapasa yung batas na yan. Sana po, madaliin nyo rin yung pag-implement ng batas, no? Si Director Abad is here. Mukhang mayroon siyang information na gustong i-share sa atin. Director Abad?
Mr. Chair,
Yusek Wimpy?
Mr. Chair, if I may
Yes,
provide some
Yusek
update.
Adriano.
I'm from the Department of Finance.
Yes.
So the law was signed yesterday,
Yes.
and I can confirm that there are basically two triggers. One is the 80 USD dollar should be breached, and that has been breached.
Okay.
And then the second is there should be some recommendation from the DBCC.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the timeline po, kasi may 15 days na para publication and effectivity. So the earliest that the President can issue the EO is around April 12 or 13 po, if I'm not mistaken with my numbers. In terms of the update on the DBCC, we will already be meeting on Friday. And then definitely we will come up with recommendation by next week so that as soon as the law is in effect by around April 13,
Okay.
the President can already issue that EO. If
Okay.
ever.
We here in the Senate, because we prioritize this measure, no? Prioritize natin to on our own and upon the certification of urgency of the President, we also hope that we will act with urgency. At kung ang pinakamaaga legally ay April 12 or April 13, inaasahan namin na mangyayari nga ito by April 12 or April 13. Yusek Wimpy.
Okay. Now it's clarified by Director Abad. Because I know we sent something, okay? So it was triggered, the first trigger was on the $80 was on March 13. That's why we sent communication to the DOTR and to the DA so that pakagalaw na sila doon sa targeted na pagbibigay ng tulong. But not on this po.
Yes, you're talking about yung Pantawid Pasada, no? Iba yan. What we're talking about here is the suspension of excise tax.
Yes, kaya nga not here, not this
And
one po.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, ang pinakamaaga dito is April 12, no? Pinakamaaga na pwedeng masuspend ito is April 12. Now, may mga trigger po ito, may mga meeting na kailangan mangyari. Inaasahan namin na ekutibo, gagawin yung lahat para sa pinakamabilis na oras, mabigay natin to sa taong bayan. Tama ba, Yusek Adriano?
Yes po, we will be already be meeting on Friday, the technical board, and then the main DBCC will be meeting next week before the Holy Week.
Okay.
So that before the April 13 deadline, the DBCC already has a recommendation for the President's consideration and approval.
Okay, let me move to my other questions. Thank you for that clarification. At least may certainty yung ating mga kababayan kung kailan to pwedeng mangyari. No, actually, sa totoo lang, the reason why we want to have this hearing is to provide certainty sa mga kababayan natin. Ano yung expectations nila? No? Ano yung expectation? Ano yung expectation ng transport worker? Ano yung expectation ng agricultural worker? Ano yung expectation ng ating mga MSME? That's what we're trying to do here, no? During the hearing on Tuesday, bago pa natapos yung hearing, may binanggit na crisis committee na bubuuin, no? Or hindi rin klaro, nabuo, sabi ni Secretary Rex, pero suddenly nabubuo ulit nung Tuesday. So the crisis committee was formed last Tuesday. Has that crisis committee convened already? Or ito rin ba yung Uplift? Ito rin yung Uplift, no? Has the Uplift committee been convened already, Yusek Wimpy?
As I mentioned earlier, it is yet to convene.
It is yet to convene. So kailan po yung, meron na bang date kung kailan to i-convene?
The indicative date is on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Next week.
As informed on me by Director Abad.
Next week. Next week.
Yeah. Yes.
Next Holy
week.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay. Bakit next week? You don't know, of course, di naman ikaw yung nagko-convene. Who is the convening power of this committee? The Executive Secretary? The President? Is it DOE? Is it DepDev? Sino po ang chairman nito?
Secretariat will be DepDev.
DepDev, okay. Sino bang Asekancio? Secretariat, bakit po next week pa? Bakit hindi ngayon na? I mean, nakakadalawang hearing na tayo dito. Di ba? Yes, Asekancio.
Yes, thank you, Senator. So the Uplift Committee is chaired by the President himself. Members include the Executive Secretary, DOE, DOTR, DSWDA, DOF, DepDev, and DBM. So we've already had our initial meetings internally. We're coordinating with the Office of the President for the schedule of the President. The initial indication, the intent is to meet either this week or early next week.
Okay, let's meet soon. No?
Yes.
To be fair, nung tinawag yung crisis committee in the middle of the hearing, marami sa amin natuwa. No? That this committee was being convened already. I hope you also include members of the private sector, no? Dito sa crisis committee na ito. But we impress upon you to please move as fast as the price of diesel and gasoline is going up. Move as fast as that. Kung kada linggo, tumataas yung presyo ng diesel at gasolina, dapat kada linggo, nagbi-meet rin kayo para may update kayo sa taong bayan. No? So that's really our main recommendation to please move. I mean, the name is Crisis Committee, so pag crisis, kailangan mabilis tayong gumalaw. Gumalaw na tayo. Now, baka naman po sabihin nyo yung main meeting next week, pero sana po yung mga director, ASEC, USEC, sana nagkikita-kita na, nag-uusap-usap na rin. No? Asekancio, is that happening already? Are you interacting with, is there an interagency already happening behind the scenes before this formal meeting?
Well, the agents have been coordinating even before this Uplift Committee was created, Mr. Chair.
But you need the Uplift Committee to make decisions. Tama, di ba?
That's correct.
Okay. So I hope you're preparing already for all of these decisions to be made. Kung sa Friday, tama ba, Yusek Adriano? Sa Friday, magkikita-kita yung DBCC regarding the excise tax?
Mr. Chair, it's the ETB first. Ito yung technical committee, like the technical committee. And then next week, earliest, the DBCC main principals
So
will meet.
next week rin?
Yes.
Okay, sige. So,
Your Honor, can I just
yes.
ask a question, Senator Bam? As we are discussing the excise tax suspension, the retailers are asking, maybe you can include it in your meeting, Secretary Yusek Adriano, is what happens to those inventory already in the market na bayad na yung excise tax? Will they be allowed to draw it down? For that matter, for the oil companies as well, they have inventory na paid na yun excise tax. Or will it be through another refund process? Well, we know that the refund process is very tedious. Is there a proposal for a better refund process for that?
Maybe you can answer quickly, Yusek Adriano.
Mr. Chair, I think our option will be definitely based on the legality of the recommendations. So, but we will discuss this, but it depends on if it's legally possible to actually do this recommendation.
Ang sagot dyan sa kanya is noted at pag-uusapan ninyo.
Yes po.
Okay, but to be fair, Mr. Kapinpin, kung yung presyo natin sa gasolinahan is not the price of our inventory, di ba? Then therefore, kumbaga you can't have it both ways, di ba? Na sometimes yung presyo ay yung future na bibilin, pero yung excise tax na bili na. I'm sure the DOF will take this into consideration. Correct, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I would like to note that in the tax code, I think may isang mechanism lang for refund sa excise under Section 145, if I'm not mistaken. So again, the main constraint here will be the legality.
Oo, but Yusek Adriano, naintindihan ko rin si Mr. Kapinpin, yung refund sa gobyerno, napakahirap talaga. In fact, kung isusuma mo yung mga utang ng gobyerno sa kanila, bilyon-bilyon siguro yan. Tama po ba? Di ba? So, we also need to be fair to the business sector na kapag nagsabi tayo, refund, magre-refund talaga tayo. Baka naman maghintay sila ng alam ko, taon-taon yan. Tama ba, sir? No? Tumutungo po sila. Taon-taon yan bago makakuha rin ng refund. No? Okay. So, unang-una, please convene the crisis committee para maging malinaw itong mga ibibigay natin sa taong bayan. Please convene the DBCC para matrigger na yung pagbaba ng excise tax. Okay, I have a question. We declared a national energy emergency. Iba ito sa declaration of national emergency. Sorry, Yusek Wimpy, Yusek Fontebella, I'm gonna ask you this question. Iba yung national energy emergency sa national emergency. Correct, di ba?
Yes.
In a national emergency, pwede mag-trigger ang price ceiling. In a national energy emergency, hanggang monitoring lang tayo. Is that correct?
Monitoring in what sense? I'm sorry.
It's in one of the provisions in the EO na kailangan mag-monitor tayo ng pagtaas ng presyo. Pero hindi siya price ceiling. So in a state of calamity or state of national emergency, pwede tayong magkaroon ng price ceiling sa basic commodities and essential goods. Hinahanap ko sa National Energy Emergency EO, yung provision na yon, hindi ko mahanap. No? So I want to clarify. Ngayon na may national energy emergency, pumapasok na rin ba yung price ceiling natin for basic commodities and essential goods? Will you be able, or will DOF be able to answer this? Kasi yung isang rason kung bakit tayo nagtawag ng national emergency is to put the price ceiling on essential goods and basic commodities. Ang nilabas ninyo is national energy emergency, which I know addresses the supply issues, but I don't think it addresses the concern when it comes to basic goods, basic necessities and basic commodities and essential goods. I want to clarify, meron ba tayo ngayong price ceiling sa essential goods and basic commodities? Meron ba? Yes, Asek Cancio.
No price freeze as of now, Mr.
So,
Chair.
walang price freeze
For
as of
basic
now.
necessities, yes.
So you need to call a full state of national emergency to have a price freeze. At hindi yun ang tinawag natin. Ang tinawag natin, national energy emergency. Is that correct, Asek Malyari?
For now, Mr. Chair, it's specific to the energy sector.
Okay. So, nung Tuesday, marami ko sa amin ang nagbungkahi na magtawag ng state of national emergency primarily for the price freeze on essential goods and basic commodities. Kasi ayaw natin makita na yung merkado magtutuloy-tuloy yung pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin dahil sa pagtaas ng presyo ng diesel at gasolina. So as much as natuwa kami na tinawag na ito para yung supply natin ay magkakaroon ng malaking leeway, no, para sa gobyerno at para sa private companies na makapag-replenish ng supply. Personally, palagay ko po at palagay siguro ng marami ko sa amin, kulang pa dahil ang hinahanap rin ng taong bayan, hindi magtuloy-tuloy yung pagtaas ng presyo sa mga palengke, sa supermarket, sa grocery. Bago pa po nangyari yung gera, pakiramdam na ng maraming tao, mataas na yung presyo ng bilihin. Suddenly, in 1 month's time, ang laki ng tinaas ng presyo ng diesel at gasolina. DA, is DA here? Yung DA nag-present na posibleng tumaas ng 100, yung manok, yung baboy, at kung ano-ano pa, kung hindi tayo aaksyon. So we're looking for this. No? May I know why we stopped short? I know, Yusek Adriano, no? I'm sorry to ask you, but nagtaas ka ng kamay, so ikaw tinatanong ko. Do you know the reason why we stopped short of calling for a emergency and therefore a price freeze sa mga basic goods? Do we know why?
Mr. Chair, to be honest, I'm not...
Okay, Yusek Wimpy, do we know why we stopped short of calling for a state of emergency? Kasi pag state of emergency po, pwede tayong mag-price freeze. Hindi tayo nag-price freeze dito, hanggang monitoring lang. No? Do you know why? Maybe there's a wisdom behind it kung ba't hindi tayo nagtawag ng national emergency, Yusek Wimpy? Would you know?
I cannot.
You cannot know. Okay.
Chair.
Mr.
Sige.
Chair, if I may, Senator Bam.
Go ahead.
This time, I will defend them and those who are here. To be fair to them, the USEC and the ASECs, they would not be in a position to answer why it was limited to an energy emergency. But I join you in that. Kaya nga, we always say, kailangan pinapadala yung cabinet level, especially since we are in a crisis. But they opt to send USEC and ASEC, fine, but thank you for being here. But we cannot force them to answer. Hindi naman sila ang nagbuo ng komite. Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, may I have just a few minutes with the indulgence of Senators Loren and Marcoleta? Okay. Kasi I've run out of time. No? So, gusto ko lang po tanungin si Yusek Adriano, napag-usapan niyo po ba yung VAT? Because we had, and maybe later we can ask the energy companies their position on the suspension of VAT. May nagsasabi na magugulo daw yung mga libro ninyo or something, no? Pag na-suspend yung VAT. But in our first hearing on Tuesday, Senator Loren, myself, other senators here, talked about a follow-up measure na hindi lang excise tax, but powers for the President to suspend or lower VAT for petroleum products. Napag-usapan po ito kasi mas malaki ang pwedeng mabawas nito kesa sa excise tax, no? Was this discussed, Yusek Adriano?
Mr. Chair, yes, it was even discussed during the hearing of the excise tax bill. What we mentioned during that hearing is that exempting the fuel, particularly with VAT, may have some counter results to the goal of reducing the prices. Remember, when we have the VAT system is relatively complicated. It has an input and an output VAT. So if the output is exempt and you have inputs wherein you paid the VAT, then you cannot claim your inputs. So for instance, in the case of the oil industry, they have machineries, they have trucks, etc., that are subject to VAT. But since the fuel, the output is not subject to VAT, they cannot claim those input VAT. And hence, what will probably happen is that those input VAT na naipit, ipapass on nila yun doon sa presyo.
Okay, let me ask, does anyone speak for the energy company, for the oil companies, or tag-iisa kayo, no? So maybe very quickly, do you have a position on the suspension of VAT? Kasi kayo po yung binabanggit na mahihirapan daw ang industriya, mahihirapan yung mga kumpanya, masyadong komplikado. Napag-usapan niyo po ba kung mag-suspend o mag-lower ng VAT ang gobyerno? Kung gaano po kalaki ang epekto nito, Mr. Nepomuceno or Ms. Kiambao? Sorry, is Ms. Tanya speaking for the industry here? For the small players. Sige, let's go small to big ba tayo? O sige, si Ms. Tanya and then maybe the representatives from Shell and Petron.
Thank you for that time. In our position, when we were discussing it with the DOE and one time in Congress, we mentioned that it's easier for us to implement reduced prices when VAT is removed. Because what we were suggesting is, we don't remove it on the bottom, we remove it upon arrival of the cargo. Hindi na kami magbabayad ng VAT. And then it answers your request for immediate implementation on the pump prices.
So, Ms. Samiliano?
Yes.
So, ang sinasabi mo, yung pagtanggal ng VAT dun sa point of importation.
Yes, because once in the point of importation, you don't have the VAT. It's not part of your cost anymore. Whereas when you do the exemption or the suspension on excise, it's part of your cost. So you have to consider your inventory. But if it's VAT, if I don't have the VAT input, I won't have the alternate,
Okay. So,
the VAT output.
Simple
the VAT
question.
output.
Simple question. Kung magtanggal tayo ng VAT at the point of importation, will this mararamdaman ba to ng consumer down the line? Kasi may...
Yes, because it will reduce your cost.
Yes. So, ang VAT ng petroleum is ano ba ngayon? 12?
12%.
So, yung 12%, kunyari, nagtanggal kayo ng 12%.
If it's 100, it's justifiable that in the next movement, you don't increase by 12 pesos.
Will all of that 12% be felt by our consumers?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Shell and Petron?
Yes, so we are in favor. Actually, from a technical point of view, the VAT would be faster to implement, but indeed it should be end-to-end, yeah? So at source until end. Also, the VAT is a percentage. Therefore, the higher the price, the higher the VAT becomes actually. Yeah?
Okay.
So there is actually...
Thank you, Ms. Kiambao Osial. I'm sorry, my eyesight is not that good. Mr. Nepomuceno, do you agree with them?
Yes, we
Okay.
concur.
Okay.
And that is the industry position.
Okay, yun naman pala. So, according to the industry, it can be done. Hindi sila mahihirapan kung magtanggal ng VAT at the point of entry. Clear? Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I'm sure mapag-uusapan natin to sa Mayo, and we ask DOF to also help us compute, no? At makita natin itong posibleng pwedeng tulong ulit sa ating mga kababayan. Okay, let me end with expectations of support. Yung ating transport sector po nandito, in the last hearing, DSWD said, who is the DSWD representative here? Yes, Yusek Sulit. In the last hearing po, sabi ni Secretary Gatchalian, lahat ng jeepney driver, tricycle driver, bus driver, TNVS, PUV, mabibigyan ng tulong. No? Nandito po yung representative ng Manibela at ng iba pang mga transport groups. Ano pong expectation ng transport workers mula po sa gobyerno pagdating sa tulong na ito?
Thank you, Your Honor. As mentioned by Secretary Gatchalian the other day, we will provide subsidy to all drivers of tricycles as referred by LGUs, jeepney drivers, motorcycle taxis, and the other common carriers as referred by LTFRB. They will be provided, everyone will be provided.
Okay. Ang concern ko dito is, sa lahat ng mga programa ng gobyerno, whether for farmers, for drivers, lagi pong may lumalapit nagsasabi, hindi naman kami kasama. Diba? So meaning, yung listahan, napakahalaga, na kumpleto yung listahan natin. In this hearing, Yusek Sulit, can you assure us na yung mga listahan natin, kumpleto talaga? Hindi lang yung mga organized, hindi lang yung mga kaibigan, o hindi lang yung mga malapit sa mga ahensya, pero talagang komprehensibo yung ating listahan. Mamaya, I'll ask Sir Mar to also speak. Yusek Sulit.
Thank you, Your Honor. The guidelines on the cash relief assistance presupposes that there is a group assessment done by the partner agencies of the DSWD. As you know, Your Honor, in the past, it's always the DSWD doing the assessment. So we do it individual. This time, since time is of the essence and the vulnerability is sector-wide, so it's a whole of government, whole of society approach. So we tap the LGU to do the preparation of the list based from their official records.
Okay, so kailangan nakalista ka sa LGU
Yes,
para
sir.
umabot sa inyo yung listahan.
For the tricycle drivers, sir.
Okay.
For the others, covered by the regulatory authority of the UTR, LTFRB, the list will come from them.
Okay. So pag jeepney, LTFRB.
Yes, sir.
Kapag TNVS, DOTR.
Yes, sir.
Yung TNVS naman kasi may mga kumpanya, kaya hindi mahirap hanapin yung listahan. Yung pinaka mahirap siguro yung tricycle driver. Correct, no? Kasi decentralized yung listahan.
Yeah, sa LGUs po siya, Your Honor.
Okay, so sa mga nakikinig sa ating jeepney driver, tricycle driver, TNVS, dapat may expectation sila na may tulong silang makukuha. Is that fair to say, Yusek Sulit?
That is fair, Your Honor.
Kung hindi sila kasama sa listahan, anong gagawin nila?
Yesterday, in-address po ni Secretary Gatchalian yung mga issue nung wala sa listahan. Ang pangako po ng DSWD at sa utos ng Pangulo, we will provide assistance. We will check whatever fast mechanism we can, conduct in order to provide assistance as well. So yung gagawin po na in-announce kahapon, lalapitan na po ng DSWD at ng DOTR para makita kung bakit wala sa listahan yung mga nagsasabing wala sa listahan.
Okay, Mr. Valbuena, sige po, can you give a comment? Yung tanong ko po kasi, lagi pong may lumalapit pa rin na, Senator, nabigyan yung gantong kaibigan namin pero kami wala, di ba? And this was during the COVID response. No? Meron rin tayong pantawid pasada nung panahon ng COVID at nung umiikot kami nung nakaraang kampanya last year, yun yung sinasabi sa amin ng mga TODA. No? Hindi ho kami kasama sa listahan. So, pwede ho ba kayong magkomento? Yung pagkakompleto ng mga listahan, kailangan po ba ng bagong gawain para mabuo ulit ang mas komprehensibong listahan po para sa ating mga transport workers?
Good day po, distinguished committee and Mr. Chair. Kahapon po, doon pa lang sa ayuda, meron naman po kaming nakuha sama ng loob. Pinapila po maghapon, mainit, gutom, walang tubig, walang maupuan. Meron naman isang tent para doon sa mga senior siguro. Sila na din po nagsabi, 21% lang ang nakatanggap doon sa total na sinubmit. Sa members po namin, sa kabuuan, 8% lang ang nakakuha. Meron pang mga ruta, doon sa ruta namin, 60 na drivers po ang sinubmit namin pero kahit isa wala pong nakatanggap o wala doon sa listahan.
Sir, sa jeep kayo, no?
Sa jeepney po at UV Express.
Pati UV Express.
TNBS po.
Okay. Ang Manibela, matagal na hong grupo kayo.
Tama
Matagal na po. Yung mga tinatawag na listahan, meron po ba ang mga ahensya ng listahan ng inyong mga miyembro?
Ang binibigay po namin na listahan dati, ang nagbabase po ang LTFRB per plate number. So doon po nagbabase kung ilan yung bilang ng sasakyan na meron kami na naka-enroll o active sa LTFRB. So yun po dapat yung nabibigyan. Pero this time, ang pinasubmit po sa amin yung pangalan po ng driver. So nag-comply naman kami.
Mas maganda ho yun, di ba? Kasi per plate, sometimes dalawa yung driver po dyan o tatlo, di ba?
Tama po kayo.
So kung yung per name, mas maganda po yun, di ba?
Tama po kayo.
Okay.
So ang nangyari po, wala kaming nakuhang ayuda. Kung meron man, iilan lang. So matagal na naming sinasuggest po sa kanila na fleet card ang ibigay ninyo sa amin. Mas madali siyang gamitin. Hindi na ho kami pipila doon sa mga ayuda na to na lahat madidisrupt yung services natin sa mga mananakay.
Yung araw na namamasada kayo, nawawala rin.
Maghapon din ho kaming nakapila. So kaltas na po kaagad yun. Kung kikita ho sana kami today ng 1,500 pesos na paghahatian po ng driver at operator, nawala din po yun. So magkano na lang ho ang natira doon sa 5,000 pesos? Hindi po ba? Kaya ho, matagal na naming sinasabi, bakit ayaw po gawin ng Land Bank, ng LTFRB, yung ganitong sistema para kahit ilan at sino man yung sumampa doon sa sasakyan, kahit anong klaseng sasakyan, basta intended yung fleet card doon sa plate number na yon, mapapakinabangan. At para siyang coupon na automatic may discount po kada karga po namin. Hindi na, mas malaki po yung madi-discount at pakinabang po nito sa amin at hindi nag-aaway na pumipila. Bakit kami wala? Nag-submit naman kami ng listahan. On a daily basis, ngayon po, 1,500 to 1,600. Ang nawawala po sa amin, 100 to 120% ang itinaas nung krudo. So dati, kung nagkukonsume kami sa average na 30 liters per day na 53 to 55 pesos, ang kinukonsumo po namin ay 1,200 to 1,400, mahigit 3,000 na po ngayon. Yun ang nawawalang kita at ang tanong po namin, kanino at saan po namin ito babawiin itong mga losses na ito?
Dalawa lang naman po yan Sir Mar. Either magtaas ng fare or may suporta sa inyo. Now, ayaw nilang siyempre yung pagtaas ng fare, marami pong matatamaan. Now, kung ayaw gawin yan ng gobyerno, dapat may suporta po sa inyo. No? Napakasimple, di ba? So, una kong tanong, I know I've run out of time. Nung COVID ho, di ba may fleet card naman nung panahon ng COVID?
Tawid pasada card po yung ibinibigay sa amin.
Iba ba
pero
yun?
nawi-withdraw po siya. So dapat, kung operator ang nakakuha, hindi po mabibigyan yung driver. Tama rin naman po na driver yung binigyan nila ngayon. Pero yung implementation, hindi ko nakikita na efficient siya.
Okay,
kasi
kumbaga Sir Mar, ang sinasabi ninyo, pinapapila pa, yung mga driver buong araw, sayang yung oras natin na magnegosyo, magtrabaho, ba't di na lang natin i-automate, no? Yan ang sinasabi po ninyo.
Tama po kayo. Yung sistema pong ginagamit nila ngayon, wala po kaming pinagkaiba doon sa nanlilimos na kailangan ibaba muna yung bintana bago kami bigyan ng limos. Ganun po ang nangyayari sa amin. Ganun kabigat. Kami yung direktang pumasan ng bigat. Meron na po ba rito sa session hall na to na kayang pasanin yung losses na 1,500 pesos a day? 45 to 50,000 pesos on a monthly basis. Meron po ba rito na pwedeng magsakripisyo sa atin noon? Wala. Mamang tsuper lang po ang nakakapagsakripisyo niyan.
Okay. Sir Mar, tatanungin ko lang ang DSWD. Ito pong, alam naman ho natin, no, na pag-uusapan natin ang transport workers, sila ang pinakaunang natatamaan dito. Agricultural workers, MSMEs, susunod-sunod po yan, no? Pero sila po yung pinakauna. Ito pong request nila ay sana mas efficient, mas diretso, no? Yung tulong. Iba pang usapan yung kung magkano. Kasi yung binibigay natin, hindi rin naman yan nagmamatch dun sa losses nila. Diba? Mas maliit yan sa kanilang nawalang income. But I just want to ask this question as my final question. Yung sinasabi po nila, kasi sa palagi ko po, hindi naman to one time eh. Ang expectation natin, this will last 3 to 6 months or more. Kahit matigil yung gera tomorrow, bukas, yung taas ng presyo, nandyan pa rin yan ng ilang buwan eh. So kailangan natin silang matulungan. Ito pong pag-automate or pagkaroon ng fleet card, pwede po ba itong gawin para hindi na po sila kailangan pumila para sa ayuda, mabibigay po yung tulong. At the same time, kung magkano yung nabibigay, na ma-manage nyo rin po. Is that in the plans of DSWD?
Your Honor, gusto lang po namin sanang malaman kung ano yung tinutukoy niyang ayuda. Kasi as you know, dalawa po kami nagbigay ng ayuda. Kami po sa DSWD, cash relief assistance po ang binigay namin. At diretso po yun sa mga drivers.
Cash or diretso sa GCash? Or
Cash po.
Cash talaga, okay.
At base naman po sa mga news reports, napakabilis. Sobrang bilis nga po kasi pupunta ka doon kung ikaw ay na-vet na yung listahan mo. Hindi po dapat pumupunta yung hindi wala sa listahan. Okay? So, kaya po dapat malinaw. Sa amin po, hindi po totoo yung 21% na accomplishment. So sa amin po, pag malinis yung listahan, dumating yung mga kasama natin driver, babayaran po sila. At yan naman po ay matter of judicial notice.
Sige, papaklaro natin kay Mar, no? Ito po bang release ng pondo ay mula sa DSWD, DOTR, LGU? Sino po ba yung nagbigay po ng tulong po sa inyo?
Mr. Chair, nakakatawa po. No? Magkatabi pa po sila eh. Ang DOTR at ang DSWD, hindi po ba sila nag-uusap kung yung ibibigay po sa amin eh, kung saan po ba ito galing? Hiningan po kami ng listahan ng LTFRB. Isinabmit po namin yung mga master list po namin. Yun pala, ibibigay din po pala sa LGU. Doble ang ginawa po nilang pahirap sa amin. Kailangan namin ng ORCR, pipicturean kami, kasama yung jeepney namin, hawak namin yung driver's license, kasama yung prangkisa, kasama pa po kung saan presinto kami bumoboto. Mr. Chair, totoo po yan at may mga ebidensya po kami. Kung saan po kukunin, hindi po dapat kami yung tinatanong. Hindi po ba? Kayo yung nakakaalam kasi kayo yung magbibigay. Tama po.
Okay, Mr. Valbuena, but gusto ko lang kasing matukoy ito. No? Of course, alam natin magkaiba rin yung pondo nila eh. And kami yung pumopondo po dyan. Kaya gusto namin malaman kung anong pondo yung nagamit ng maayos. So, yung nangyari pong ayuda o payout, sino po yung namimigay? LGU ba? DSWD ba? Sino po mismo yung nagbibigay sa inyo? Para lang klaro sa amin.
Ang namigay po kahapon, ang kasama ng LGU ang DSWD. Pero una po kaming pinag-submit ng listahan sa LTFRB.
Okay, so ito yung sinasabi namin na kailangan yung response ng gobyerno, iisa lang talaga. No? This is a common theme from Tuesday na alam ko may kanya-kanya kayong mga responsibilidad, pondo at lahat, but we need to have a consolidated approach here. No? Posibleng nagdodoble yung tulong o posibleng akala natin nasa kabilang listahan, yun pala wala sa listahan. We need to have a consolidated approach here. No? So, Mr. Chairman, baka maganda po yung komite, pwedeng i-meet on the side yung mga agencies at yung transport workers natin, maklarify natin yung expectation nila kung ano yung makukuha, magkano yung makukuha, ano yung proseso para malagay sa listahan, ano yung proseso sa pagtanggap ng pera. Kasi kahit yung pagtanggap ng pera, posibleng nakakaantala dun sa pang-araw-araw na pamamasada po nila. So, Mr. Chairman, can the committee convene this on the side?
Ang balak ko talaga namin magkaroon ng mga technical working groups bawat sector. No? Kasi iba-iba yung pangangailangan, we'll get more details. Pero just to comment on that, kaya kailangan ng isang cohesive national contingency plan dahil Nagbibigay yung DSWD ng ayuda, nagbibigay si DOTR, LTFRB ng pantawid pasada, pero parehong tulong yun. No? At ako, kung tatanungin, pinaka-effective pa rin ay yung fuel subsidy na diretso sa card. Kasi gagamitin ng tao yan sa pangkarga ng fuel, hindi gagamitin yan sa ibang bagay. Yung cash nakakatulong pero hindi natin alam kung saan gagastusin. Unlike yung fuel subsidy, diretso na. At yan ang ginagawa na matagal na, ilang dekada na nating ginagawa yan, no? So, but we'll pursue that later on. Go ahead, Mr. Valbuena.
Opo, meron pong 2.5 billion pesos ang DOTR na para sa fuel subsidy. Tama rin po si ASEC o USEC ng DSWD. Alin po doon ang pinagkuhanan po natin. So gusto rin namin malinawan kung makakakuha pa po ba kami sa DOTR doon sa 2.5 billion o doon sa AIC. So ano po ito? Kaya po kami nagtatanong.
Kaya nga dapat ano talaga yan, nag-usap yung gobyerno, no? At yung pantawid pasada, nakadesenyo talaga yan, even yung special provision para sa fuel subsidy, no? At yan ang mas magandang mekanismo dahil diretso yan doon sa fuel card, no? So with that, Senator Lauren, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Salamat, Mr. Valbuena. Ramdam namin ang iyong mga sinabi at lahat ng mga sabi niyong pumila ng napakainit tapos wala naman natanggap. At inuutos ng komite with the permission of the chair na sagot po ng maayos in a memo form kasi hindi maliwanag. Tama si Mr. Valbuena. Saan nanggaling yung pondo? DOTR ba na 2.5B or DSWD na AIX? Hindi natin alam. Mas malaki yon para malaman nila at bakit hindi yung buong listahan at ilang porsyento lang nakatanggap. Kung hindi kaya ng mga ASEC, USEC director na nandito ngayon, pero kailangan mabigyan natin ng sagot ang grupo ng Manibela through Mr. Valbuena. 12:19, siguro naman bago bumaba ang araw ngayong araw na ito, ay masasagot tayo ng DOTR, LTFRB na nagbigay ng listahan at ng DSWD. Can I ask that, Mr. Chair? Base sa question ni Senator Bam Aquino. I mean, it's not ask, it's a demand kasi hindi siya nasagot ng kompleto dahil hindi sila sigurado saan nanggaling yung pondo. DOTR, DSWD,